Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Friday. So, to those of you who joined us earlier this month in our webinar with Dr. Hannah, welcome back. And thank you for all of you. Thank you to all of you for joining us and welcome to today's session, which is entitled Wellness 101, Managing the Overall Well-Being of well-being through mindfulness. I think we can all agree that we all need tips on how we can manage our emotions and well-being, right? And today, I am as excited as all of you to learn some techniques on how we can apply mindfulness in our daily lives. So, our resource speaker today is someone very dear to AAI or to assessment analytics. She is one of our consultants. And on top of that, she is an entrepreneur, a wife, and a mother of two. She has 19 years of experience as a corporate trainer, the recent 8 of which have been freelance as a consultant for human resources. So, apart from providing corporate training solutions, she is also one of the co founders of Lighthouse Wellness Philippines. It's a mental health support group where she provides one on one and group psychological counseling, life counseling or life coaching, and psychoeducation. Now, Lighthouse was one of the pioneers of online mental health consultations here in the Philippines. And they were also one of those who were first to respond to the mental health needs of Filipinos during the pandemic. Our speaker today, she's also a certified life coach, a registered yoga teacher, a certified mindfulness meditation teacher, and the sole owner of an 8-year-old yoga studio called Treehouse Yoga. So, for those of you who live in the South, in BF, you may visit her at Treehouse Yoga. So, with that, I am very excited to present to all of you Miss Rachel Bonifacio.
Thank you, Dad. Thank you so much for the invite. I'm always grateful to be part of like your events, and thank you for the trust as well. It's so nice to see so many names here. Um, so I think this is a great way for you to learn about yourself and also about stress in general and also mindfulness. So yeah, I think some people are still arriving. So before we begin, I'd just like to share some things that we can do in order for this webinar to be successful. So number one, there's no need to take screenshots or take down notes unless of course you find a, let's say you realize something about yourself, or you pick up a line or something that sparked something in you, right? So you can take note of those, but the rest of the slides we will be sending those over to you, so there's no need to take screenshots or scribble down notes. Okay, number two, since this is just a learning session naman, I know that, sometimes we have Zoom fatigue, or sometimes we even have anxiety when we're online. So it's okay to turn off your camera. That's not an issue. Okay. And also you can turn it on during our demos, or you can just keep it off. That's okay. Right. Now, number three, you can ask questions anytime through the chat. I just need to know if you can access the chat. So just say a hi or a hello on the chat box para nakikita namin that you can access the chat box. Okay, can we do that now? Yeah, there you go. Hello, everyone. It's nice to see so many names today. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can actually put it on the chat box. So Miss Dat and her team will be monitoring the chat box so that if there are questions that are related to the current topic or discussion, then they can just ask away, no? And then if meron kayong naisip na questions that is for later, you can actually also put it on the chat box and then they will collate it. Okay? So yeah. Right. Now, lastly, since it's raining where I am, there's a possibility that my electricity might get cut off. So just stay in the Zoom room, and then the AI team naman has a copy of my slides. I will be back in 2 minutes tops. Okay, so yeah, all right, so let's start. Um, actually, when I was invited, and every time I get invited to talk about mindfulness, it's always a challenge to encapsulate it in an hour of like in a webinar, especially since we like in Lighthouse and Treehouse, we conduct full day workshops on mindfulness, and we also have retreats on the topic. So today, what I will do is I will just sprinkle the whole discussion with mindfulness practices that you can do anytime. So these are all practical mindfulness techniques that you can practice when you are commuting, before sleeping, or while taking a break from work, etc. Right? So with that, we will start with a 3-minute grounding session muna. Okay, so just to set the tone of the whole webinar. So I'd like you to find a comfortable seated position. So if you're lying down right now, just sit up just for 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, and then if you're at your desk, so just uncross your legs and just make sure that the soles of your feet are flat on the floor. Okay, so your hands can be on your lap or on your desk or anywhere that's comfortable for you, right? So option, you can also close your eyes, or you can also make your gaze a little softer, right? Like just focusing gently on a spot on your desk or on the room or in the room. Okay. Now, if you're good, just take a few moments to like fix your posture. Maybe you can um, sit upright a little bit more. So lifting from the lower back. Yan. So sit up straight, but not too straight that it's too rigid naman. Okay. Now, from here, just inhale and exhale slowly. And then bring your attention to your toes and your feet. Maybe wiggle your toes, stretch them out, right? And then as you stretch, just relax them, right? And then just keep breathing deeply. And then notice your thighs and your sit bones, and also how they are supporting the weight of your entire body. So on an exhale, on your next exhale, just relax your thighs and maybe feel the support that your sit bones provide you. And then just notice your lower back on your next inhale, and then see if you can make it, a little straighter, or if you can make a minor adjustment that will allow your lower back to support and lift the upper body without exaggerating the curve of your spine. So just exhale, inhale again, and then exhale, grounding back down without collapsing your spine. So allow your spine to carry you and lift you up. And then on your next inhale, just notice how your chest kind of opens up a bit. So you can bring your shoulders down. And then slowly on an exhale, see if you can relax around the elbows all the way to your hands. And inhale and lift the chin slightly higher. And then exhale to relax your jaw and your cheeks. And then maybe you can relax and release the tension from your forehead as well. If your gaze is soft, maybe you can close your eyes and just breathe here for a couple moments, maybe just 2 cycles or 3 cycles of the breath, making the exhale slow. And then just slowly letting go of the practice, start to move your fingers, your toes, and maybe blink your eyes open. And then just, move your neck, move your shoulders, and then relax again. So you can go back to how you were seated kanina or how you were lying down. So yan. How did you feel after that? You can type it on the chat. Like, what was your experience? And so for me, I felt a little bit more centered, a little bit more relaxed. Okay. So that is actually called a body scan, right? So you've just completed one mindfulness practice already for the day. So something that you can practice, no? Like when you are feeling a little tense. Okay, so congrats. May one na tayo, right? So let's look at what we will be covering for today. So half of the presentation we'll be talking about the thing that makes us unwell, which is stress. Oh, yes. And I think Dr. from the last session also talked about stress, no? So stress is the one that makes us unwell. We're always complaining about stress. So the first level of mindfulness is actually understanding what stress is. So we'll talk about the biological effects or physiological effects of stress and also the psychological effects of stress. And then the second half of this webinar will be focused on mindfulness and wellness and the strategies that we can use to combat short-term and medium-term stress. So I'll explain this as simple as possible, the simplest way possible. Okay, so medyo may science part lang tayo at the beginning, but stay with me. You will, it's going to be like storytelling, what happens to the body, what happens to the brain, what happens to the nervous system when we are stressed. Okay, stay with me. Okay, so let's delve into it. So first, we will try to figure out if you are stressed right now. Okay, so I want you to put your right hand pala. This is my right hand. My right hand on your chest. So put your right hand on your chest and then your left hand on your belly. And then hinga lang kayo, like just breathe, inhale and exhale. All right, and then just notice slowly, am I a chest breather or am I a belly breather? So pag nag-inhale ba ako, ano yung nagra-rise? Is it my chest or is it my belly? Yan. So try to figure out, are you a chest breather or are you a belly breather? So inhale, sa inhale, nagra-rise ba yung belly or yung chest ba yung nagra-rise? And then just type it in the chat, like me right now, I am a chest breather. So chest, belly, chest. So are you team chest or are you team belly? And belly, 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 chest, chest. Mga kasama ko sa chest breathing. Belly, chest. Good. Okay. Wow, madaming chest breather today. All right. Sige, I'll give you one more moment just to try it out. Okay. Sige. So this is how you can actually tell whether you are stressed at the moment or if you are relaxed at the moment. So if you remember or if you can imagine a baby, right? A baby or a pet, like a dog or a cat, when they are asleep, diba? When they are asleep, pag nag-inhale sila, sa chest ba sila nag-breathe in or sa belly? Diba? So usually we'll see them breathing in, and then the belly is the one that rises. Okay. So what does that mean? Right. So actually we'll go through that later, right? But just remember if you are a chest or a belly breather. Okay. So when we talk about stress kasi, what is it ba? So stress is a tense physical, emotional or mental response to a stimulus. So stimulus meaning anything that can be external or internal, like our thoughts, or external would be our environment that can evoke a reaction. Now, when we talk about stress, usually medyo ano siya kalaban yung dating. 'Di ba? Like we're most of the time demonizing stress. Like pag stressed ka, mali means something wrong, right? No, actually, stress has a purpose, right? It gets the body moving and makes the mind sharper. So, actually, kailangan natin ng stress. So, if you look at our ancestors, right? The first people, from an evolutionary standpoint, right? The objective of stress in the body is to pump cortisol and adrenaline, diba? Right? and that is to save us. So actually, there's nothing wrong with it, because imagine na lang if, for example, the cavemen, right? We're not stressed by, I don't know, saber-toothed tigers, right? So ano nang nangyari sa atin? Maybe we're already extinct, and siguro sila yung nagra-run ng mundo ngayon. So there's really a reason for stress, for adrenaline, for cortisol to be pumping in our system. And that's to make us alert, make us think, make us sharp. Okay, but of course, in the, you know, and then in the world that where we're in right now, wala naman ng tigers sa workplace or sa bahay, 'di ba? Or when we're driving. So bakit pa rin tayo perpetually stressed? Okay. So, chest breathers and ano yun, belly breathers. Yan. Okay, so our nervous system has two parts, right? Well, actually many parts, but we'll focus on just two parts. We'll focus on the sympathetic nervous system and also the parasympathetic nervous system. So, what does that mean? Team chest, ako yon. Tsaka si Rose, si Jelly, si Janina, si Mark, si Cariza, etc., lahat kaming team chest. Ibig sabihin, our sympathetic nervous system is actually the one that's active right now, right? So, ibig sabihin, there's cortisol pumping in our system. There is also adrenaline pumping in our system right now. Yan. Mga team belly, yan. Sila yung relaxed ngayon. Right? So, Jail Ann says, team belly siya. Mark Joffrey, team belly. Yan. Janine. Wow. Okay. And Carlos Earl, yan. So, mga team belly, all of you, it means that right now, your body is relaxed and it is in the rest and digest mode. Okay, I'm sure narinig niyo na yung term na fight or flight and then rest and digest. So basically, itong dalawa yon, right? So when we are stressed, right? Not always bad, again, good stress and sometimes bad stress, right? The sympathetic nervous system is the one that is active. And usually when it is active and it goes on overdrive, there are four things that we usually tend to do. We kind of parang defend ourselves, right? So first one is fight. Yan, yung mga gustong mang-away lagi, laging mainit ang ulo. Yan. So yan. So you feel like you're facing some threat aggressively, right? Though sometimes we go on a flight mode, meaning we run away from danger. Right? Yan yung mga tipong, hindi ko na lang to gagawin, kalimutan ko na lang to, or hindi ko sasagutin yung message niya kasi nasa-stress ako sa kanya. That's flight mode. Okay, next is freeze, or unable to move or act against a threat. This is usually when we start to procrastinate. We stop doing things altogether. Wala na tayong ginagawa. As in, wala na, sobrang overloaded ka na, you're just frozen, literally. Okay, and then last one is fun. So immediately acting to try to please someone, or like maybe our boss, kapag natithreaten na yung naku, bibigyan niya ako ng bad feedback, no, ano na lang, sasabihan ko na lang siya ng ang ganda-ganda ng buhok niya ngayon. So that is fun, right? So whenever we feel fear or we feel any threat, our sympathetic nervous system kind of like acts up, right? So that's what's active, right? And then when we are relaxed and we feel safe, we feel like, hindi naman ako tatawagin sa webinar na to. Sabi, off daw yung camera, sige, relax lang tayo. Yan. So it means that your body stops producing excess cortisol or adrenaline, and you can actually breathe normally. The normal way to breathe is actually through the belly, or the diaphragm to be specific. So when you inhale, the diaphragm kind of balloons, and then when you exhale, the diaphragm or the belly kind of deflates. So ganun yung feeling niya. So yun. So our nervous system kasi is both primitive and advanced. So how is it advanced? Advanced siya because my nervous system can actually talk to your nervous system. Right? Ganon siya ka-advanced. And that's why we, even without talking to each other, diba, we kind of can communicate how we feel. Like, for example, if you are in the room with several people, with your friends, with your family, without anyone saying anything, you can detect if someone is uncomfortable or afraid or sad or frustrated or tense, right? But also, it is primitive in a way na same pa rin yung reaction natin sa fear. Like, same pa rin yung reaction natin sa stress that we don't even see, right? So when something triggers our nervous system, right? Yung parang meron tayong fear or the need to defend ourselves, or to survive even. So our nervous system gets activated. The sympathetic nervous system gets activated. So, okay, so if that gets activated, anong nangyayari sa katawan natin? So this is where the storytelling comes in, right? So when our sympathetic nervous system gets activated, yan na, si fight or flight or freeze and fawn, it's not always bad, diba? But sometimes it releases too much cortisol, right? Cortisol. So what is cortisol? It's a steroid hormone. It spikes up when we are stressed. Okay. Actually, helpful si cortisol. It helps in metabolism, it helps in liver stimulation, it helps in the production of blood sugar, right? So it also helps the body convert fats and protein and carbs into usable energy. So actually okay naman siya. It's a friend. That's why stress is actually a friend, right? When we exercise, what happens is we stress out the body so that it produces cortisol and then it burns fats, diba? But of course, there's a whole science to it. But basically, ganon siya. Now, the thing is, this boost of cortisol and adrenaline is meant to fuel your muscles to respond to a threatening situation, like a saber-toothed tiger. Okay, other equivalent of a saber-toothed tiger now in modern times, apparently a deadline is equivalent to a saber-toothed tiger. So ganon kadaming cortisol din yung nagpa-pump sa katawan natin when we are working on a deadline. When we are, let's say, when we receive an email, when we are given feedback that, we don't necessarily like, right? So imagine before, pagka may cortisol ka and adrenaline sa katawan, tatakbo ka. But now, ano nangyayari sa atin? When we have cortisol and adrenaline pumping in our system because we are stressed, we're just here on our desk. Diba? Hindi siya nagagamit. Right? So when cortisol levels are constantly high, due to, let's say, chronic stress, we may start to experience what we call Cushing syndrome, right? So Cushing syndrome, you Cushing, Cushing syndrome. You can Google that, but basically what it is this is too much cortisol in the body that it causes physical and mental changes already. So nagkakaroon tayo ng high blood pressure, high blood sugar. Sometimes, the bloat that we have, diba? Sasabihin natin, shucks, ang taba-taba ko na, ganyan. Right? So sometimes it's not even our diet. It's stress. It's cortisol pumping, like too much cortisol pumping in our body. So Cushing syndrome also makes the face swell, parang manas, right? It also causes depression, skin issues, like if you get yung parang rashes or cold sores in your lips, those are all possible symptoms of Cushing syndrome or just high stress in general. So how do we prevent this whole stress thing, right? So how do we prevent? Okay, so how do we activate the parasympathetic nervous system, I guess, is the better more scientific question. Kasi sometimes we don't need to be stressed. For example, when we are about to sleep, diba? Our body needs rest. Now, meron ba ditong hindi makatulog sa gabi because madaming iniisip? Like, if that's you, just type me. Right? Yung mga parang super active sa gabi. Yan. Right. Hey, you're not alone. Ang dami natin, di ba? Yan. So, it means that our nervous system, like the sympathetic nervous system is actually the one that's on overdrive. Ibig sabihin, we're still pumping cortisol and adrenaline even if we should not be, because it's already 11 p.m. and we should be resting and sleeping, and we're not being attacked by a saber-tooth email. So parang, 'di ba? We should be like just resting. So how do we prevent or reverse it? Okay, so we need to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Right? So yung ano kasi, yung sympathetic nervous system, ano siya, automatic siya. But the parasympathetic nervous system may way for us to actually activate it. Right? How? So yan yung mga matututunan natin today. Okay. So, before tayo tumuloy, I know that this is like, oh my God, info overload. Ano daw? Sympathetic, parasympathetic what? Right. Okay, so one of the best ways to relieve stress is humor. Okay, so sino ba ditong mahilig sa memes? Oh my God, all right. So me and my best friend, when we are stressed, we send each other memes, right? So one of the best ways to relieve stress is really through humor. And it can help reset and refresh our brain when we are on overdrive. So we just discussed a lot of science. Parang hindi yata tayo prepared sa science discussion today. So here's your 1-minute mental break. So it's a great strategy to manage stress. So as long as you don't fall into doom scrolling, okay lang yan. Okay? Right. So first, our favorite hamster. Minsan kamukha natin tong hamster na to, di ba? Kamukha ko na ba siya? Yan. Right. Why? Why? Yes, I am a bit stressed. Why do you ask? Malamang kasi, no? Like, hindi na tayo nakapag-ayos because we are running after something like tasks, errands, deadlines, our kids, our pets, etc. It's okay. Yeah, we can always find humor in it. Next one. And my job helps pay for the stress eating caused by my job. Yan, sino mahilig mag-stress eat dito? Aminin na natin. Okay. Sarap kayang kumain ng pizza at saka pasta at saka carbs, kanin, right? Lahat ng silog kapag stressed tayo. Yes. All right. Next, I think this is the last meme I will share today. So same. I don't know what this cat is going through, but I can relate, diba? Yan. So lahat tayo, we sometimes experience all of these things, and that's okay, right? That's okay. That's life. That's how it is. So what we're going to learn today is how to be mindful about it. Okay. So let's move on to the common types and causes of stress. So types of stress, some examples and their effects. So before I continue, no, I'll ask you, what caused you to be stressed today? And so pwedeng i-type sa chat box, could be work, pwedeng me preparing for the webinar. Yan, preparing for the webinar while my cats are crying. Anyone else want to share? Traffic, the rain, internet. Oy, palang walang stress today, ah. Reports, yan. Oh my gosh, work. Of course, work is stressful. And I think almost everyone. Okay, uy, I like this one. Jail, thinking what to cook later for dinner. Totoo yan, ha? Like, for those who are running the household, that is so stressful. That's our stress every day. And Jean says, I don't get my boss. Yeah, sometimes may disconnect talaga, right? Eh, and so these are the things that stresses us out. Sometimes it's our kids, sometimes it's our pets, sometimes it's traffic, simple things, right? Or minsan nga meron ka lang narinig, it stressed you out, right? It's not even about you. Okay? So this is actually one way, one mindful way to notice yourself, right? So noticing what you notice and then noticing what causes stress for you or what caused stress for you today. Okay, so humans, we are actually the only ones who can think about thinking, right? Who can notice what we notice. So that ability is called metacognition, and it is a mindfulness skill. So if na-notice nyo kung ano yung nakaka-stress sa inyo, like you responded, I don't get my boss, my reports, traffic, I don't know what to cook for dinner, and it's stressing me out. That is already one level of mindfulness. That's already a mindfulness practice. Okay, so instead of looking at stress from a good or bad perspective, we can look at it from a timeline perspective. So there are three time frames that you will see on the screen, right? So we have short, medium, and long term. Okay, so yeah, so I'll show you what examples of short term, long term, medium term stresses are, right? So these are the stressors. So ano ba yung ideal state of work every day, right? Of course, we need a little bit of stress. For the business, for example, kasi madaming nagsabi ng work, we need a little bit of stress, maybe even a lot for some, in order for us to, operate, right? So what is the ideal state of work and for everyday tasks? Ideally, sana alert and calm tayo. Alert in a way that we can think the stress and adrenaline is working for us. But at the same time, we are calm and we can respond well. So what's important is the amount of stress and our response to the stress should be enough for us to think clearly and create solutions, right? Now, when does it become bad? Like, bakit nagiging, oh, it's bad stress? Oh, sobrang stress ako, sis. Ganyan. So, when the level of our stress is no longer a match to our reaction. For example, traffic. May sumagot kanina ng traffic. That's already a way of life. It's something that we need to expect. Because traffic will not adjust to you. Di ba? Yung tanong nga, sino mag-a-adjust? Ikaw o yung traffic? So, syempre, hindi yung traffic yung mag-a-adjust. It's already given, right? So, if you insist on leaving the house just in time for work, yung just in time, saktong-sakto lang, then we do not account for all the other stressors na pwedeng mag-compound. For example, paano kung may nasiraan sa road? Paano kung ikaw yung nasiraan? Alam mo naman ng traffic, di ba? Pwede mong i-adjust yung, of course, your time to leave the house. But of course, it's not that simple and not straightforward. There are other things. Meron pang, I can't leave early because my children, I have to bring them to school, etc., etc. So, yeah. So the question would always be, sinong mag-a-adjust, right? So, like it's there are some things that we can control, but there are also a lot of things that we cannot control. But we have to be aware and mindful of the things that we can control and focus on these things. So yeah, and so for these kinds of stressors, like especially the long-term ones, usually the highly successful people are able to balance their lives and manage the unnecessary everyday stress in a strategic manner. Like very popular, I would say, si Steve Jobs before, di ba? Na parang one of the things that he removed as a stressor is thinking about what to wear. So, pare-parehas na lang yung damit niya, right? So, para wala nang stress doon sa part na yon. So, those are like the unnecessary everyday stress. And that's their strategy to just wear the same type of clothing every day, right? And usually also they adjust their expectations of life. The things that they can manage or that they can control, they will manage it. but the things that they cannot control, they can just accept it, that that's how it is, and it's just something that they can't control. So there was one time, naalala ko lang kasi may report dito na sagot si Miss Carol. Yan. So one time a client asked me, sabi niya sa akin, Rach, how do I manage my frustration? Every time I submit my report, lagi na lang may revision. Right? And it frustrates her. So every time there's a report, may revision, and it annoys her so much, right? And it's already affecting her mental health. And then I told her, how about you just expect the revision? It looks like it's a pattern, laging may revision. If there is none, then it's a bonus. Pero kung may revision, edi balik ka sa baseline. Okay? Just don't convince yourself that there will be no revisions. Because sometimes our expectations would be the ones that are working against us. So just make sure, in short and in summary, just make sure that the level of stress is appropriate for the environment or the situation. And again, sino bang mag-a-adjust? Sometimes it's just us talaga, right? So now, about long-term stress. Ayan, pulang-pula siya on our slide, right? These are the stressors that are most likely bad for the health and may have physical and psychological manifestations. So chronic stress, when it happens when sometimes, bakit simple lang naman, it's just work. Bakit naging long-term stress na siya, right? Nagiging chronic stress na siya. Now, when you have short and medium stressors like traffic, reports, deadlines, like all of these small things, when they compound and they are very frequent already, that there's no more break, then it becomes a chronic type of stress. And it's very difficult because this kind of stress can lead to burnout if it is not managed. So before it gets to burnout, dapat we need to be mindful and notice. Again, when we are mindful, we pay attention. So we pay attention to our symptoms, what we're experiencing, and notice it before we get to the burnout part. Okay. So the trick is to identify stress early. Okay, how do you know that you are stressed? Yan, iba-iba for us. For me, you can write down on the chat. For me, I know that I am stressed when I get acidic. Yan. Meron ba naman? Ayan, I eat a lot. Ayan, so pagka stressed ka, mapapansin mo din parang nagka-crave ka na, ano ba mga favorite natin? Milk tea. Ayan, milk tea. Ki-crave tayo ng potato corner, yan, McDonald's, Jollibee, right? Yan. Jean says, I just want to sleep for a month. Yan, like the desire to just sleep, not socialize, not talk to anyone. Yan. So that's also uh, a stress symptom. No? Okay, how about the others? Meron pa bang iba? Yan, allergies. I walk around in circles. Oh, my son is like that. He walks around in circles. Yan. Hey, allergies. Yes. When allergies are actually triggered sometimes by stress. And we don't know that because stress actually turns off several systems in the body. So it turns off the digestive system because when we are running away from a tiger, we don't need to digest food, right? And then what else? It also turns off the reproductive system, okay? Because when we are running away from a tiger, right, we don't need to create another human being. We don't need to procreate, okay? And then third one, it lowers our immune system. That's why lumalabas yung allergies. That's why nagkakaroon tayo ng allergic rhinitis, skin problems, yan, stress. Okay. Somebody also sent me a direct message. Sometimes merong parang desire to pick your skin, pop your acne, pull hair. That's right. That is a stress response. Okay. So there are a lot of stress responses, and the trick is to notice them immediately. Okay? Pag na-notice nyo na, ibig sabihin, stressed na ako. So what are some of these? So there are actually two categories. So there are physical and behavioral, and there are emotional and mental um, stress markers. So these are some of the answers are already here. Yung low energy, no appetite, becoming agitated, and feeling overwhelmed. Yeah, that happens to me. So I need to calm myself down. Okay, feelings of self-doubt. Yan. So yung may mga um what's this? May mga imposter syndrome. Yan. Sometimes nangyayari yan. That is a sign of stress. Constantly elevated heart rate, insomnia or restless sleep. Okay, so those are all warning signs when that tells us that we are stressed. So the ability to pay attention to these early warning signs allow you to, notice your patterns, identify your stressor, and later on, hopefully, manage it better. So ito yung minimum level of attentiveness or mindfulness that is required in managing mental wellness. Okay, or wellness in general. It is the ability to catch yourself when you are already experiencing stress and also doing something about it. Okay, so these are the symptoms. These are just, a few of those symptoms. Madami pang iba. Now, that we know and we are aware of these symptoms, let's try to see if we can exercise our mindfulness by asking ourselves, what do we do ba when we are stressed? So may sumagot na dito, like, so stress eat, okay? And then Mark Joffrey said, I go to a park and do a forest bath. So that's actually very healthy. When you are stressed, you connect with nature, diba? Okay, so other ways to manage stress. Sino nagre-retail therapy dito? Automatic, bubuksan yung Lazada app o kaya Shopee app. Ako yun. Pero I learned something. A trick is to just add to cart and not check out. Just add to cart. Gusto mo lang naman mag-add ng gusto mo lang bumili pero hindi naman talaga bibilin. Hindi naman kasi kailangan. So just add to cart, and if it's really important, you will check it out in a week, right? Okay. So here are some common maladaptive or unhealthy coping mechanisms. So when we say maladaptive, these are unhealthy it because of the frequency and intensity. So for example, feeling angry, rumination, feelings of regret, we experience that as human beings, and that's okay, right? But if it gets too intense, to the point where we already hurt the people that we love, and then we already say things that we will probably regret later on, then it becomes maladaptive already. When it is too frequent, yan. So always remember frequency and intensity, right? Excessive use of alcohol, okay lang uminom, no problem. But once it becomes too frequent and sobrang high intensity na that you finish a bottle of whiskey in one sitting, then there's something wrong already, right? So yan, so constantly escaping through extreme daydreaming or excessive sleeping, um, faking a sickness maybe when you can't hold a job anymore to that point na resign ka na ng resign. Procrastination where you already cannot meet the deadline. Sometimes kasi some procrastinators are actually good in procrastinating, na parang they want to do it on the last minute because that's when the adrenaline really pumps up, right? Okay, and then emotional numbing through excessive stress eating, right? Too much na that it leads to obesity, right? Retail therapy, too much retail therapy that it leads to debts, big debts, even self-harm. That's already, you need to seek professional help already. Okay. and many others. So these are the unhealthy coping mechanisms, and later on we will show you what to do if you're already at this point. So let's go back, right? Let's go back to, like, just normal, wala pa naman tayo dyan, wala pa tayo sa burnout. Okay, so how can we prevent this from happening? So yes, we can naman, but it requires some steps. So in Lighthouse, we're moving towards the mindfulness part of, the whole thing, the whole webinar. So in Lighthouse, we approach wellness through the following framework. So number one is awareness. This entire webinar is all about awareness. So being aware of one state of wellness, being aware of your stress levels, ano ba nangyayari when we are stressed, and also how we behave when we are stressed. Okay. Now, when we talk about awareness, it's basically, like being open, being curious, noticing ourselves and observing ourselves without judgment, or without creating a story about us being bad, or good, right? Basically, the education and information that you receive today all fall under the awareness step. So we cannot change anything kasi if we're not aware of it, di ba? Like, paano natin gagawa ng action kung hindi naman tayo aware kung ano yung kailangan gawan ng action? So awareness is super important. And then the second one is assessment, right? So the second one is assessment, meaning once we are already aware of, okay, this is how we behave, this is how we respond to stress, etc., etc. We let the client, or we let people decide, let us decide if this is something that we are okay with, right? Some people don't want to change, right? Di pa sila open to change. Okay, aware na ako, pero wala akong magagawa eh. Ganito na talaga ako. Okay, then we stop there. But then also, some people are willing to change, right? And this is to improve our lives, our everyday lives. And this skill of receptiveness and responsiveness to the possibilities leads us to the third step, which is action, right? So this is the last step in the commitment to the process. If you do want to change, then having the willingness to change is important, but also the willpower to change. Yung tipong, okay, sabi ni Rach, mag-journal daw ako. Sige, mag-journal ako. Sabi ni Rach, mag-breathing daw ako. Okay, sige. Right. But if it doesn't work the first week and you stop, then, well, you kind of abort the process too early, right? So having the willpower to just go through with the process and just trust it is called mindsight. Okay, so just go through it, fail, try again, fail again, try again. Yeah, so having that willpower is important for change. So again, the first thing that we teach is mindfulness, right? This is the quality or state of being consciously aware of something. And for today, we are aware of stress. We were aware of of how we were, like, our posture when we started, how we were seated at the start of this webinar. We were aware of our belly and chest breathing. So those are all mindfulness practices already. Okay. So without mindfulness kasi, the entire process of change or being better will not be successful at all. Okay. So that's why we believe that mindfulness is really the cornerstone of holistic wellness, right? There's a required minimum level of attentiveness kasi in order for us to catch ourselves when we are experiencing stress. And of course, the willpower to do something about it. So when we are aware, sabi nga ni John Kabat-Zinn, which is one of the fathers of mindfulness, when we are self-aware, then we can notice what is happening in our body. So that includes our sensations, our emotions, our feelings, as it happens, right? This process is sometimes called present moment awareness, and you cultivate this present moment awareness by simply noticing, just noticing what is happening to you in the current moment. without judgment, without creating a story about yourself, right? So that's what we have been doing. Okay, so by now, we have actually done four, right? So my slides are on this left side, right? So we've actually done four strategies for mindfulness. So we did our grounding. So yan yung body scan natin kanina, how we sit, how we would like to be present in this webinar, taking stock of our posture and our attention. And then we used memes, humor, of course, is always it always provides lightness in the situation. And we used this earlier as well. And I'm sure a lot of you are memers. Okay. And then the third one would be the stress check through the breath. So belly and team chest, right? So we found out that some of us are currently at a level of stress, right? Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. It depends on your circumstance, right? And maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't. Okay. So number 4 is metacognition. By noticing what we notice, like we noticed how we are when we are stressed. So as you can see, mindfulness doesn't have to be grand. It's not something parang, kailangan ba Zen? Kailangan ba mag-meditate? Well, meditation helps, but of course, it's not the only way to be mindful, right? Hey, now, the most accessible tool for mindfulness and to calm ourselves down and to activate the parasympathetic rest and digest system is through our breathing. So it's very hard to control the mind with the mind. Diba? Like if you go to therapy and you have heard of cognitive behavior therapy, that's basically what it is. Like changing how you think. Sometimes it's not that easy, right? You can't tell a depressed person to just cheer up. I'm sure tinry na niya yun, right? You can't tell someone who's anxious to just relax. Tinry niya na yun. So we need physiological or physical tools to activate the other systems of the body for calming down. So when you are stressed, it's important to remember that you can actually control how you receive the stress through the body. So there's a huge science behind breathing. It's so extensive, like the big universities like Yale, Stanford, Berkeley, NYU, Princeton, etc. They've actually set up laboratories to study breath, and they continue to find tools on how to tap into that. So yes, if you're doing yoga and if you're doing meditation or sound healing, of course, those are great ways for you to manage stress. But also sometimes admit na natin, nakaka-stress siya. Like going to yoga class, right? Like, or going to sound healing class, or sige, magme-meditate na ako, kaya lang ang ingay ng aso ko, etc., etc. So there are actually other ways for you to access that. So breathing patterns is a good way to activate good stress or even relax you completely. So you can try this. So kanina, diba, we put our right hand on the chest and then our left hand on the belly, right? And now for the chest breathers earlier specifically, right? Team chest kanina. You can close your eyes. You can exhale just to start. And then when you inhale, can you send your inhale, the in-breath to the belly? So as you inhale, papalubuhin niyo yung chan ninyo. Yun. Right? And then as you exhale, the belly deflates. Right? So yung tummy yung umiimpis. Right? So that is a really good way to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So inhale through the belly and then exhale out of the belly. And okay. So that's one, right? What else? Another breathing pattern that we already do. We already do this, right? Yung big, long sigh, right? Like yung buntong hininga. And you can try that out now. And you'll see how all of the muscles around your ribs, your lungs, your chest, your upper body in general would be, relaxed as you do your sigh. In fact, they call it the physiological sigh, and animals and babies and humans and kids, all of us, we do it. We do it. Nagbubuntong hininga tayo when we are stressed. Well, of course, iba yung buntong hininga para magparinig. Iba yon. But if you notice sometimes when someone is sleeping or just in the verge of sleeping, di ba, biglang magbubuntong hininga. Yan, because that means nag-relax na yung katawan niya. Okay. And then another one is to exhale longer than your inhale. So you can try that now, like inhale, and then try to exhale slower and longer. Yeah. So para siyang buntong hininga, but it's deliberately slow. Okay, so those are 3 ways for you to activate your relaxed state. Okay. Next, mindful movement and activities. So yan. So dito na papasok si yoga, si tai chi. Dance can be a mindful movement as well. Exercise like lifting or walking. Yan. Mary Beth said naglalakad siya when she's stressed. That's a good way to release cortisol actually. Like just walk, not run, nothing strenuous, just walk. Like if you live in a subdivision or if you have access to a safe place to walk, do it. Okay, it's such a great exercise as well, right? So, and also just about anything can be mindful. Like for example, gardening, watching a movie or a teleserye or TV series, diba? Sometimes we are not mindful when we're watching a movie or watching a show. How can you tell that you're not mindful? You're on your phone every 5 minutes. Yan. Okay. So when you are watching, usually maganda nga kapag may subtitles because you kind of like look at, you read the subtitles. Kahit pa English yan or Tagalog, i-on nyo lang yung subtitles, right? So that actually helps in your mindfulness. Okay. The father, one of the fathers, or even the father of mindfulness, Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, said, when you are washing the dishes, just wash the dishes. The dishes are the most important thing in your life, right? Just when you are drinking tea or coffee, for example, the tea and drinking, the process of drinking must be the most important thing in your life. Okay? So yun yung mindfulness. When you're talking to your kids and you have your phone with you, put down the phone, face down, right? And focus on your kids. When you're talking to your boss, it's the same thing. When you are driving, focus on driving, right? So that is real mindfulness. Okay? So mindful movement. Hey, and then what else? How about your senses? How can you, like change your mood based on your senses? Number 1, the sense of listening. So listen to music that puts you in the right vibe, right? I'm sure you have your playlists on Spotify, okay, right? Or if you don't have one, like a happy playlist, you need one, okay? So mind the lyrics of the things that you listen to. If you are down, right, you're in a slump, listen to empowering lyrics, right? Listen to empowering music, because this can plant a seed in your head, right? It plays a huge role in your mindset, right? Even if yung artist mismo, right? If you are mindful about the artist that you listen to as well, right? How they create their songs, etc., etc. Okay, what else? Scents can trigger mood. Can be good mood, neutral, or not so good memories, actually, right? Like scents, lavender, they say relaxes the system, the body, that relaxes people, but not all. If you're allergic to lavender, I don't think you will be relaxed. So it's not there's no one size fits all to relaxation. So use what works for you. Like food can also remind you of good or not so good memories. Like me, um, the scent of garlic rice sa umaga. Yan. Reminds me of my lola because I grew up with my lola, and every morning she would make the best garlic rice, but she's no longer with us. Long time ago, so it's okay. But yeah, so those can trigger nostalgic memories for me. Okay. Um Roma said she takes a warm shower. Okay, at night after you or before you go to sleep and after work, for example, a warm shower can actually be very relaxing. Okay, you can also visualize your showers as parang it every time you take a bath or every time you take a shower at night, it releases and removes the residue, the energetic residue of the day. So pag nag-shower ka, okay, let go na tayo sa mga stress sa work, stress sa coworkers, etc. And so use that to be mindful with your showers, be intentional with your showers. Okay? Another one is environment, your home, your desk, what you see around you. There has to be like a conscious effort to tidy up, right? So that our minds are not very cluttered, right? So, syempre, di ba, ang sarap umuwi, for example, sa maayos na bahay, right? Or ang sarap dumating sa office na maayos yung desk mo. Yan. Now, in the morning, going back to shower pala, in the morning, um, it's really important for our body, all right, our systems to wake up with the sun or even before the sun rises because it boosts our serotonin. And then also, if hindi, you're the type na mamaya pa ako mag-shower, right? Okay lang, walang problema. But if there's a requirement, right, for you to stay up, right, or there's a requirement for you to be alert, okay, my recommendation is to wash your face immediately when you wake up, right? So wash your face immediately with soap and water, right? And then shower, ideally before 10 a.m., right? Because that's when your systems are starting to warm up and operate, especially kung work from home, just shower before 10. Okay. And usually tepid water shower here in the Philippines, meaning hindi siya heated, hindi rin malamig, yung maligamgam na tubig, natural na tubig lang, natural na temperature lang is actually pretty good. Okay? Right. Oh, Jail said, going to the sea, right? The smell of the sea and the sound of the waves relaxes me. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. Like, going to going on a vacation, and if you have access to nature, of course, that's also helpful to ground. But of course, when you are there, yeah, just be mindful. Notice the sea, notice the sky, notice the leaves, etc. And when you are doing your forest bathing, ganyan, like notice the plants, right? Don't think about other things when you are there. So that's mindfulness. Okay. And then of course, since I am a counselor, I will always talk about journaling, right? So journaling keeps stock of your emotions and your thoughts. So at this moment, kung ano yung nararamdaman mo, or today, at the end of the day, kung ano yung nararamdaman mo, ano yung na-experience mo, just jot it down. Okay? Because this is going to be data for you later on, right? It's so easy for us to forget, even to forgive and forget, if we don't jot it down. So for those with anxiety or racing thoughts at night, one of the best ways for you to deload is to write down all of your thoughts. Lahat ng naisip, right? Write it down. I hate my boss. I don't understand what he's trying to say. Gulong-gulo na ako sa instructions niya, etc., etc. And it doesn't have to be structured. You just have to unload your brain. Okay? So, yon. So that helps. Parang it tells your brain kasi that you did something about it. and now it can relax. And so, yes, put the glass down. Exactly. Right? So, alam niyo ba yung story na yon? Like, a glass, when you're holding a glass, parang magaan lang naman siya, di ba? Pero pag 7 hours, 10 hours mo nang hawak yung glass, then bumibigat na siya. Just put it down, right? Now, it's the same for those who have mood fluctuations. You know, journaling helps you keep track of your patterns and thoughts of when are you moody? When do you feel sad? When do you feel like super hyper, right? So this can be data which you can use later on, right? And then a lot of journaling, and there's a lot of journaling and mindfulness apps out there, and that's okay if that is, you know, something that you prefer. You can use your mindfulness apps, you can use your journaling apps. But of course, me personally, my suggestion to my clients is to write it down, because it forces your brain to slow down and be intentional with what you are writing. So yun lang, the downside lang there is sometimes when we're too much of a perfectionist, you know, sometimes pagka nagkamali na tayo sa notebook natin, ayoko na magsulat. Yan, so bibili na lang tayo ng bagong notebook. So mga notebook collectors dyan, aminado ako doon. Right, so okay lang yan. Just choose your journaling tool and tailor it to your personality style. So additionally, before we go and before we move on to the Q&A, we have this nifty acronym to remind you of the tools that we have shared. Okay, so self-care. So this is our wellness first aid kit. So socialize, but also be very careful with who you surround yourself with. There's a thing called emotion contagion. So emotion contagion. Sabi nga nila, sabi nga ng nanay ko, pag you know, yung mga kaibigan mo, piliin mo yung mga kaibigan mo kasi nakakahawa yung ugali. Yeah, it's the same thing. It actually is true. There is a term for it. It's called emotion contagion, because emotions can be contagious if you are hanging out with people who whine a lot. For example, tendency is the longer you stay with them, you wire your brain to think of what's wrong in your life when there's nothing wrong. And then if you know, hang out with people, versus if you hang out with people who are, you know, always grateful, always action oriented, always solution oriented, then you also wire your brain into thinking of actions rather than just problems. Okay. Exercise and eat nutritious food. Don't exercise too much, because people who overtrain also overload their systems with cortisol. And yes, sometimes yung mga if there's anyone here no na experience niyo na nagda-diet ka na, nag-exercise ka pa, and yet you're not losing weight, right? And hindi ka rin pumapayat. Okay lang sana kung you're not losing weight by the scale, but you're gaining muscles and you're toning up. But nothing is happening, and in fact, parang namamanas ka pa. That's usually a sign that you're overtraining and there's cortisol running in your body. So for the meantime, like stop muna kahit mga 3 weeks lang, ganyan, 3 weeks, and then take it slow, right? Hey, listen to your needs, listen to your practical needs, what do you need to function right now, yan, listen to your emotional needs, you know, label how you're feeling, focus on one thing at a time. This is mindfulness. So manage your tasks and be aware that there's no such thing as multitasking, right? Your brain can only focus on one thing. It can only excel at one thing at a time. So if you are multitasking, then you're actually just switching browsers, right? Which means that you're not being effective at one thing. You are being okay in many things, but not effective and efficient in one thing. Okay. Letter C is connect with nature, right? Try to get some sun. Of course, your vitamin D. It's also a source of serotonin when the sun or the light hits your eyes, right? Try gardening, play with your pets, take a walk, do some forest bathing if you have access to a forest, go to the sea if you have access to the sea, or just get some air. Step out, get some air, take a shower. Water is nature, right? That helps. Wash your face. That's nature. Water, right? Okay. Letter A, assess your expectations and productivity parameters. So just make sure that your standards are not too high, right? Notice what your expectations are versus what is the reality. Okay, maybe it's not a match. R is rest and rejuvenate. Rest is super important. I can talk about sleep for another 2 hours. So just find ways to spend time with yourself, rest, rejuvenate, sleep properly. Um, you can also revisit or discover new hobbies like cooking, baking, um, yung mga nagplantita during the pandemic. Yan, maybe you can revisit that. Okay, you can also connect with your inner child when you do that and explore things that you used to enjoy when you were young, like biking, or for example, or dancing or skateboarding, making art or whatever, right? And then lastly, express gratitude and find a spiritual anchor that works for you. Um, when I say spiritual anchor, it may be God, it may be something else. It can be painting can be spiritual, or just dancing can be spiritual. Anything that works for you is okay, right? So it doesn't have to be defined by one thing, right? A spiritual anchor does not have to be um like it doesn't have to be anchored in religion all the time. So sometimes it can be, a sense of, being one with nature when you do your forest bathing, for example. When you go to the sea, parang, wow, okay, I feel so small. The sea is so vast. That can be a spiritual experience already, right? So, yun. And also gratitude journaling, right? Wire your brains to show gratitude to everything, right? We're still lucky, we're still alive, we still have work, we still have pay, right? So gratitude journaling is actually a very science driven or science backed by professionals and studies. It rewires your brain to see the good in life. So at the end of the day, just list down 3 things maybe that you are thankful for. Kahit na mag-start ka sa one thing, isa lang, that you are thankful for. So that's already good enough. Okay? Right. Now, what if I'm already at a point where it's maladaptive and it's no longer healthy and it feels like, ano na siya, it's not making me function, uh, debilitating na siya. Yeah, that's the word, debilitating now. What do I do? Okay, so first of all, of course, you talk to your friends and family or anyone that you trust, like a mentor or a coach, right? That can provide a safe space for you. Now, not all the time this may be available. Maybe you've tried this, it didn't work, wala naman silang naitulong. Then the next step is for you to seek a life coach, a professional, a life coach or a counselor. And this person can give you a different perspective because hindi mo siya kilala, right? So sometimes it's actually very cathartic to talk to someone that you don't really personally know or don't personally who doesn't know you personally, right? Because they may have solutions that you've never thought about. Okay. Now, most of the time, from our experience, dito pa lang nasosolve na yung concerns nila. But sometimes it doesn't solve it. Whatever strategy that, all of the things that we've shared today, maybe those things don't work for them. Okay. The next is to see a psychologist. Maybe there's really something more serious going on. Um, and and maybe a psychologist can help you figure that out. Now, after a psychologist, usually here in the Philippines kasi hindi pa ganun yung process natin, but they've started doing that in, I think, St. Luke's and Makati Med, that you cannot see a psychiatrist unless you have a recommendation or an endorsement from a counselor or a psychologist. So the next step is to see a psychiatrist if that is the recommendation of your counselor or your psychologist. And so this means that if you're already at this point, it means that it's possible that your body, there's nothing wrong, right? There's nothing wrong with you as a human being, but it just means that your body might need help, right? Might need help in producing certain neurotransmitters, certain hormones, because it's not pumping enough of those hormones, okay? Or it's not pumping the right amount, okay? So yan, naabot ka na sa psychiatrist. So the best way if you are already experiencing like what we call a mental illness, right? If you're already experiencing that, is you have some psychiatric help, meaning you have meds, right? And then also you have therapy, talk therapy with a counselor or your psychologist. It's very rare that you have a psychiatrist, a doctor, who is also your therapist, your talk therapist. Usually a psychiatrist is just going to address your symptoms. Doktor sila eh, inuubo ka, ito gamot. Okay, hindi ka makatulog. Sige, ito gamot. Okay, ano ka, anxious ka? Sige, ito gamot. Depressed ka? Ito gamot. Yan. So that's what a psychiatrist does. Now, the whole, unpacking, talking about your life, processing your traumas, that's done by a counselor or a psychologist. And so sometimes, that's why sometimes dito pa lang sa counselor or dito pa lang sa psychologist, usually nare-resolve na, hindi na kailangan maggamot. There are some people who have gone to a psychiatrist because here in the Philippines, that can be done, right? Like you can actually go directly to a psychiatrist. May mga nagagamot may mga nagagamot na hindi naman actually talaga nila kailangan ng gamot. What they need is someone to provide a safe space for them to process some of their experiences. Okay. So if it's happening to you, it's okay, right? You don't have to judge yourself. Just be kind to yourself. We all experience this at one point in our lives, and seek professional help. Try. There are a lot of mental health providers in the Philippines that are hybrid already, hindi na face-to-face. We have a link to that. I think the AAI team can send that link. Oh, there you go. That's a directory of all of the mental health providers here in the Philippines. So some of them actually have emergency hotlines. Some of them also have free first session or discounted first session, 500 lang, ganyan. In Lighthouse, we have that. Our first session is just 500, and that goes for an hour and 15 minutes of you just talking about whatever you want, okay? And we will process it together. Now, if it's happening to someone that you love, someone that you care about, you can be this, right? You can be the trusted friend or the trusted family or a trusted mentor, but you cannot be the rest, unless, of course, you are certified to do so, right? So just provide a safe space for that person, offer a listening ear, but of course, if that doesn't work, right, you can actually mention that, especially if you've experienced it already. Like you can mention, my clients love saying that, like parang they would say, oh, have you tried seeking counseling, because that worked for me, maybe that might work for you. So that's a good way to entice them to try it out, right? But you cannot force the horse to drink, diba? So you can just suggest, but it's up to them. So yan. You can also get trained on psychological first aid. There's a lot of online psychological first aid certifications, like the Red Cross, the American Red Cross does that. John Hopkins does that. So psychological first aid means you don't need to be a psychologist, or you don't need to have a like education on psychology at all or psychiatry, but they teach you ways on how to provide, well, first aid, psychological first aid. So kung CPR yon in the physical realm, meron din equivalent siya in the psychological realm. So parang how to listen intently, what to respond or how to respond, how to show empathy and all of those things. Okay? So you can just research where you can get psychological first aid as a certification so that you have that education. Okay? So there, and I hope that today you're able to learn a lot of things. I think we still have some time for question and answer and also to state your personal commitment. So when I say personal commitment, meron bang one thing, one strategy in this whole webinar that you think you can do? Yan. So if there is one, can you write it down on the chat box? So we've actually done so much, the whole body scan, what else? Journaling, senses, right? We have uh what else did we do? We did the belly and chest breathing, right? Is there anything that um touched you or sparked something in you that you think you can do tonight, right? Like before you sleep, right? What would it be? Okay. Gratitude list for Miss Carol. Thank you. That really helps. That really works. Scientifically backed. It's research to help. Right. So shower. Somebody messaged me. Shower at night. Yes. So parang letting go of the day. Just shower. Let it go down the drain already. Okay. Mary Beth said, deep breathing to relax. Yeah. So when you do deep breathing, right? Again, focus on sending the in breath to the belly or the diaphragm. So palubuhin niyo yung tummy and then exhale, deflate the tummy. You know, if you cannot sleep, just do 30, 30 of those, right? And then count it backwards. For example, inhale, exhale, 30. Inhale, exhale, 29. Yeah, for sure. Almost 95% of the time, malamang di na kayo aabot sa 10. Tulog na kayo. Okay. Okay. Practice inhale and exhale. Very good. Okay. Focus on one thing, to be great at one thing, not okay in a lot of things. Yeah, just focus on one thing. Be great at one thing at a time, right? You can do everything and anything, just not all at the same time. There's no such thing as multitasking, right? Just focus on one thing. That is mindfulness. Thank you. Jean said, I'll try journaling again while listening to some feel-good music. Puede, right? Especially if you're doing gratitude journaling, it really will wire your brain to focus on what went well today, right? What went well today. But if you want to journal your experiences, let's say it's a not so good experience during the day, don't use music. Just be with that experience and then write it down. Okay? Back to journaling. Walk in nature. Yan. Sayang din yung mga puno sa labas, 'di ba? Like say hi to them, right? So, yan. So, especially if you live in a subdivision with lots of trees, yan. Practicing mindfulness and doing my tasks, yes. When washing the dishes, wash the dishes. When eating, eat. Okay? Rama also said, be kind to yourself. Yan, prepare your happy playlist. Yes, that's a great way to be kind to yourself. Actually, all of these practices are a great way to be kind to yourself, right? And then minimize multitasking. I'm so glad that you're able to pick up these things, especially on the multitasking part, because sometimes we take pride in our ability to multitask kasi like, oh, while I'm doing the dishes, I am also listening to a podcast, etc., etc. But actually, contradicting siya. Okay, so just be with whatever it is that you're doing. Okay, or at the most, two things at a time, like driving and listening to music. Maybe that can be complementary, and I hope that it puts you in a good mood. Okay. All right. So thank you so much. Right? Yes. Take care of your plants. Take care of your cactus. Water it later. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, I think we still have a little bit of time. Um, yeah, like if you have any clarifying questions or anything that you'd like to ask, I'm still here. We still have a few minutes. You can also send your questions privately either to me or to the assessment analytics team, right? Hey, unless wala ng questions, oh, di ba na-relax na silang lahat, Miss Det?
Yes. I think very clear kasi, no? And na-practice nila lahat kanina.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, I hope that helps, and I hope that you're able to sustain, di ba? Willpower nga to try it and keep trying it until you see how it actually will change your day to day. Kasi yun yung important yung day to day.
Yes. I have a question actually.
Yes, sige, go ahead.
Kasi for me, I guess the greatest challenge is keeping up to it. So di ba you mentioned the willpower is really very important. So
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, do you have tips on how to keep at it?
Yes, of course. Yan ang pinakamahirap. Totoo naman yan. Okay, so my trick is to siguro insert it into your routine, right? Like for example, in the morning, ayan kasi
Mhm.
yung either the mornings can be super quiet or super
Mhm.
stressful depending on, where we are. I guess
Okay.
like what we're doing or what time, right? Depending on our circumstance. But if you can make your mornings a little less stressful, like by waking up extra early, for example, or while you're having coffee instead of checking the chat, your group chats
Mhm.
or your work email, you can also try before ka mag-open ng group chat, try playing a 2-minute meditation session like from YouTube or an app, 'di ba? So those things sobrang liit lang nun eh. 2
Mm-mm.
minutes, 3 minutes. Sobrang liit lang niya that it doesn't disrupt your entire routine, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
that's a
one. And then the others are pretty okay to like I think kasi some of them we're already doing. For example, getting ready at night for bed. 'Di ba? Maliligo
yeah.
naman talaga tayo eh or maghihilamos naman talaga
Sana
siguro
naman, 'di ba?
tayo. At least maghilamos man lang, 'di ba? Or maglilinis man lang. So when we do that, be mindful lang na parang nagsi-skincare ako pero hawak ko yung phone. Oh, wait. Skincare muna. Yan. So
Mm.
parang focus on one thing at a time. Right? Yeah.
There's another question here. Do you have suggestions on how we can encourage everyone in the office to take care of their mental health so they don't reach a point of getting so stressed with their work?
Yeah, okay. So suggestions would be, well, sometimes kasi there's this one corporate client that I had, and one of the things that they did was to have an alarm clock in the office. So meron silang every 30 minutes may tumitilaok na manok dun sa alarm clock nila. So that tells everyone to just stand up, stretch. Stretch lang.
Oh,
Yeah, so I think we have a link for desk yoga with the
yes.
assessment analytics team. Yeah, so we can send that over, right? So yan.
Yeah.
So parang just to remind them to move or walk around, go to the
Yeah.
banyo, ganyan. That's nice. It was
Yeah.
so fun kasi they made it fun kasi it's a tiktilaok talaga.
Yeah.
So it was so funny. So at least it's lighter.
Hmm.
It's communal, meaning it's like it's for everyone, right?
Hmm.
So everyone is supporting everyone else. Another thing that one of my corporate clients did was they attended a webinar with me, and
Hmm.
then since nasa isang company naman sila, 'di ba? They assigned parang mental health buddy. Like, so for example, it's going to be you and me, that mental
Okay.
health buddy.
Mhm.
So they would assign like a check on your mental health buddy day,
Oh.
or so may hour sila na every Friday at 3 p.m. it's mental buddy week. Ganyan. So at that hour, on that hour, walang work, stop lahat. You can go for coffee, you can do whatever, ganyan. So just with your mental health body to check on them, ganyan. So it's those are like creative ways for a person, for a company, you know, for an organization to promote mental wellness at work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kasi mostly they would go like, sige, mag-ano tayo, corporate yoga or
Mm-mm.
ano, 'di ba? But that's not sustainable. It's a one-time
Yeah.
thing, right?
True.
So, mas maganda kung naka-embed siya talaga sa
Mm-mm.
system ng organization.
It's nice, kasi even the alarm that tilaok, that even
Mm,
for those who work from home, that's a very good tip. Kasi 'di ba,
yeah.
especially when you're home, the more ka pa na hindi tumatayo.
Correct,
So,
correct. So even my husband who works from home most of the time, so we bought yung pang yung pag nagbe-bake, yung kitchen alarm.
yes, yes, yes.
We bought a kitchen alarm. Hindi lang siya fun kasi parang tit 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 tit, gano'n yung
Baka
tunog niya.
stressful naman.
Pero it works for him. It's a good reminder for him to, okay, I just need to stand up, walk around. So that goes off every hour for him naman because he needs to be in the moment. He needs to have that flow, diba? So it can be tailored to your personality, diba? Or
Mm-mm.
to the nature of the organization.
Very, very practical. Very
Yeah,
practical
yeah,
tips. So
yeah,
very nice. Okay,
yeah.
so I think we've there are no more questions.
That's
So
great.
yeah, great. I think very clear and very, very practical tips, really things that we can do whether at home or in the office.
Yeah,
So thank you so much for sharing all of these tips,
of
also the
course.
links. Ako my takeaway is that multitasking, sakit ko yan. I think,
Yeah, I think sakit
yeah,
nating lahat yan because there was a
yeah,
point it was glorified talaga, 'di ba?
yeah. And
Mm.
talagang to be in the moment is really so difficult for most of us, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
So the willpower is also very, very important.
Yeah, that is so
So
true.
yeah, so thank you again, Rich. And
You're
for
welcome.
everyone else as well for spending your afternoon with us. I know that, we're leading towards a long weekend.
Oh
So I
yes.
hope that that thought in itself has relaxed us, knowing that we're going to have a long weekend.
That's true. Lalo na yung mga
So
magbabakasyon. Oh, may access to
yeah,
nature.
yeah. So we also want to make sure that we're able to take a photo with all of you. So um, we have pasted or posted a copy of the background in the chat box. For those of you who can change your virtual background, please do so. If not, don't get stressed over it. It's okay. We can just take a photo with whatever background you have. And while everybody is trying to turn on their videos, let's now shift to gallery view. While everyone is still turning on their videos, we'd also like to give some announcements and invite all of you. We have two studies that are upcoming. So first is for those of you, hala, shucks, kailangan ko mag-eyeglasses. For those of you who are either a college student or know of college students who are about to graduate and do not have any failing marks, or if you are a fresh college graduate, recently graduated, meaning in the past 2 years, or if you know anyone who fits these descriptions, we are looking for people who can participate in our study because we would like to update our graduate solution assessment, which is in partnership with our global partner SHL. And we'd like to also make sure that the norm includes Filipinos. So please do scan the QR code and let us know if you can join or if you'd like to have more information or send us a note in the chat box so we can get back to you. The other one is we are also in need of those who would like to participate in our focus group discussion. So we're doing this together with the Department of Information and Communications Technology, so DICT. We're helping them update their national ICT competency standards. And we are looking for participants to these FGDs. We have three upcoming on November 7, November 8, and November 9. So you only need to choose one. Again, please do scan the code that you see on screen. So if you are of, or if you know of any civil servant, career executive service officers or CESO, government chief information officers, or those who work with CIOs, or a civil servant who works directly for CCIO, and then a webmaster or an enterprise architect. So please do uh, scan the code so that we can invite you also to the FGD. Okay, so is everyone ready? Is our photographer ready? Can our photographer count? Ray?
Okay, ready? For the first page, I'll just count 1, 2, 3. So, okay, I hope you're ready. 1, 2, 3. Let's take another photo. 1, 2, 3. And then for the next page. Okay. 1, 2, 3, smile. Again, another shot. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much.
So once again, thank you, everyone. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you again, of course, to Rachel Bonifacio, our speaker for today, for sharing your time and all of those information on how we can make sure that we are able to practice mindfulness in our daily life.